The year is 1919. The Great War, a conflict of unimaginable brutality, has finally ended. Germany, once a proud and powerful empire, lies in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles, signed at the Palace of Versailles near Paris, France, has formally ended the state of war between Germany and the Allied powers. The treaty, however, is a bitter pill to swallow for the German people. They see it as a dictated peace, a humiliation that strips them of their territory, their pride, and their economic stability. The German economy is in shambles. Hyperinflation cripples the nation, rendering the German mark almost worthless. Millions are unemployed, struggling to feed their families. The once vibrant streets of German cities are now haunted by the spectres of poverty and despair. The social fabric of German society is fraying at the seams. The war has left deep scars, both physical and psychological. The German people are searching for someone or something to blame for their misfortune. They are looking for a way out of the darkness, a beacon of hope in these uncertain times. Into this void of despair and resentment steps a charismatic and ambitious young man named Adolf Hitler. A failed artist and a veteran of the Great War, Hitler possesses a keen understanding of the anxieties and frustrations of the German people. He will use this understanding to devastating effect, harnessing the raw emotions of a nation teetering on the brink. In the aftermath of World War I, Munich, the capital of Bavaria, becomes a breeding ground for extremist ideologies. Among the numerous political groups vying for attention is the German Workers' Party, or DAP, a small and insignificant group with a confused mix of nationalist and socialist ideas. In September 1919, Adolf Hitler, then an army informant, attends a meeting of the DAP. He is captivated by the group's fervent nationalism and their condemnation of the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler discovers his true calling, his voice resonating with the anger and frustration of the DAP members. He quickly rises through the ranks of the party, his powerful oratory skills and magnetic personality drawing in new recruits. Hitler's speeches are a potent mix of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and promises of a return to German greatness. He identifies scapegoats for Germany's woes, the November criminals who betrayed Germany in World War I, the communists who threatened the social order, and the Jews, whom he blames for Germany's economic troubles. Recognizing the power of symbolism and propaganda, Hitler changes the name of the DAP to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. He adopts the swastika, an ancient symbol that he imbues with new and sinister meaning, as the party's emblem. The Nazi Party, under Hitler's leadership, transforms from a fringe group into a force to be reckoned with in German politics. The stage is set for Hitler's rise to power, a rise that will have catastrophic consequences for Germany and the world. Emboldened by his growing popularity, Hitler decides to seize power in Bavaria in 1923. Inspired by Benito Mussolini's march on Rome the previous year, Hitler and his followers plan a coup d'etat, hoping to overthrow the government in Munich and eventually the Weimar Republic itself. On the evening of November 8, 1923, Hitler and the Nazi stormtroopers, the party's paramilitary wing, storm into a beer hall in Munich, where Bavarian government officials are gathered. Hitler fires his pistol into the air and declares that the national revolution has begun. The beer hall putsch, as it comes to be known, is poorly planned and executed. The next day, the putsch collapses when the Bavarian police and army units confront the Nazis. In the ensuing chaos, 16 Nazis and 4 policemen are killed. Hitler, injured in the melee, flees the scene but is arrested 2 days later. The putsch is a failure, but it proves to be a turning point in Hitler's political career. The trial, which receives widespread media coverage, gives Hitler a national platform to promote his ideology. He uses the trial to denounce the Weimar Republic and portray himself as a patriot fighting for the soul of Germany. During his imprisonment, Hitler writes Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a rambling and hate-filled manifesto outlining his political ideology and his vision for Germany. In Mein Kampf, Hitler lays bare his racist and anti-Semitic worldview, calling for the territorial expansion of Germany, the purification of the German race, and the elimination of Jews from German society. Released from prison in December 1924 after serving only 9 months of his 5-year sentence, Hitler immediately sets about rebuilding the Nazi Party. He realizes that the path to power does not lie in armed insurrection, but in exploiting the democratic system to his advantage. The Nazi Party, banned after the Beer Hall Putsch, is re-established in 1925. Learning from his mistakes, Hitler now focuses on winning over the masses. He transforms the Nazi Party into a mass movement, appealing to the anxieties and aspirations of a wide cross-section of German society. Hitler understands the power of spectacle and propaganda. He organizes massive rallies, carefully orchestrated to evoke a sense of awe and excitement. These rallies, held at night and featuring dramatic lighting, rousing music, and the hypnotic chants of the crowd, create an atmosphere of almost religious fervor. The Nazi propaganda machine, headed by Joseph Goebbels, effectively exploits the mass media, particularly radio and film, to spread the Nazi message. The Nazis portray Hitler as a messianic figure, a savior who can rescue Germany from its humiliation and restore it to its former glory. Hitler's message of national revival, economic recovery, and racial purity resonates with a growing number of Germans disillusioned with the Weimar Republic and fearful of the future. Section 5. Despair into Hope. The impact of the Great Depression. In 1929, the world is plunged into the Great Depression, the worst economic crisis in history. The Depression hits Germany particularly hard. Millions lose their jobs, businesses go bankrupt, and hunger stalks the land. The Weimar Republic, already fragile and unstable, seems powerless to alleviate the suffering of its people. The despair and hopelessness engendered by the Depression create the perfect breeding ground for extremist ideologies. The Nazis, with their promises of economic salvation and national renewal, appear to offer a way out of the darkness. Hitler's message resonates with increasing urgency as the Depression deepens. He blames the Jews, communists, and other scapegoats for Germany's economic woes, fueling the fires of resentment and hatred. The Nazis make significant gains in the Reichstag elections of 1930 and 1932, becoming the largest party in parliament. Although they fall short of an absolute majority, the Nazis' electoral success is a clear sign of their growing popularity and the extent to which the German people have lost faith in the Weimar Republic. The Great Depression transforms the Nazi Party from a fringe movement into a major political force. It provides Hitler with the opportunity to exploit the fears and anxieties of a nation desperate for change. The stage is set for the final act in Hitler's rise to power. Section 6. A Fatal Miscalculation, Conservative Elites, and the Rise of Hitler. As the Weimar Republic teeters on the brink of collapse, conservative elites, fearing a communist revolution, see in Hitler a bulwark against the left. They underestimate Hitler's ruthlessness and his ambition, believing they can control him and use him to achieve their own ends. Franz von Papen, a conservative politician and former chancellor, plays a key role in bringing Hitler to power. He believes that Hitler can be boxed in, and his radical tendencies tamed once he is part of the government. Von Papen convinces President Paul von Hindenburg, a World War I hero and the aging symbol of the Weimar Republic, to appoint Hitler as chancellor. He assures Hindenburg that Hitler can be controlled by a cabinet dominated by conservatives. On January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg reluctantly appoints Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. The conservative elites believe they have made a shrewd move, that they have tamed the Bohemian corporal and harnessed his popular appeal for their own purposes. They will soon learn the folly of their miscalculation. Hitler's appointment as Chancellor marks a turning point in German history. It is the culmination of years of political maneuvering, economic turmoil, and social upheaval. It is also the beginning of the end for the Weimar Republic and the dawn of one of the darkest chapters in human history. Section 7. The Chancellorship, Hitler's Ascent to Power. Upon becoming Chancellor, Hitler moves swiftly and decisively to consolidate his power. He calls for new elections in March 1933, hoping to secure a parliamentary majority for the Nazi Party. He uses his position as Chancellor to intimidate and silence his opponents. The Nazi stormtroopers, now a formidable force, unleash a wave of terror against political enemies, breaking up their meetings, attacking their offices, and intimidating voters. On February 27, 1933, a fire destroys the Reichstag building, the seat of the German parliament. The Nazis blame the fire on the communists, using it as a pretext to crack down on their opponents and restrict civil liberties. Hindenburg, at Hitler's urging, signs the Reichstag fire decree, which suspends basic rights such as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly. The Reichstag fire marks a decisive step towards the establishment of a totalitarian state in Germany. With the communists scapegoated and the opposition silenced, Hitler is free to pursue his agenda unopposed. The March 1933 elections, held under a climate of fear and intimidation, give the Nazi Party a plurality but not a majority of the vote. The Nazis, however, form a coalition government with the German National People's Party, giving them control of the Reichstag. Section 8. The Consolidation of Power, the Reichstag Fire and the Enabling Act. With the Reichstag firmly under his control, Hitler moves to pass the Enabling Act, a law that will grant him dictatorial powers. The Enabling Act, officially titled The Law for the Relief of the Distress of the People and the Reich, is presented to the Reichstag as a temporary measure to deal with the national emergency. In reality, it is a carefully calculated power grab that will effectively destroy the Weimar Republic and establish a Nazi dictatorship. On March 23, 1933, the Reichstag, purged of its communist and socialist deputies and surrounded by Nazi stormtroopers, votes on the Enabling Act. The act is passed with the support of the Nazis and their allies, the Centre Party and the German National People's Party. The Social Democrats, the only party to vote against the act, are effectively powerless to stop it. The passage of the Enabling Act marks the end of the Weimar Republic and the beginning of the Nazi dictatorship. It grants Hitler the power to enact laws without the consent of the Reichstag, effectively giving him absolute control over the government. With the Enabling Act in place, Hitler moves quickly to eliminate all opposition and transform Germany into a totalitarian state. The Nazi Party becomes the only legal party in Germany. Trade unions are banned, their leaders arrested and sent to concentration camps. Political opponents are arrested, imprisoned without trial or murdered. The press is muzzled and freedom of speech is abolished. Section 9. The Dark Shadow of the Swastika, the Transformation of Germany and the Road to War. Within months of Hitler's appointment as Chancellor, Germany is transformed beyond recognition. The democratic institutions of the Weimar Republic are dismantled and replaced with the machinery of a totalitarian state. The swastika, the emblem of the Nazi Party, becomes the ubiquitous symbol of the new Germany, a constant reminder of the regime's power and its utter contempt for human rights. The Nazis waste no time in implementing their racist and anti-Semitic ideology. Jews are progressively excluded from public life, subjected to discriminatory laws and violence. Concentration camps, initially established to imprison political opponents, are soon populated with Jews, Roma, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. The world watches in horror as Hitler, emboldened by his unchallenged power and driven by his twisted ideology, leads Germany and the world towards the abyss of another world war. The seeds of World War II, sown in the ashes of World War I and nurtured by the social, economic and political turmoil of the interwar years, have come to fruition under Hitler's tyrannical rule. The rise of Adolf Hitler is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy and the dangers of unchecked extremism. It is a story that continues to resonate today, a warning from the past that we must heed if we are to prevent the horrors of the Nazi era from ever being repeated.